You already know something is wrong. Not wrong in a dramatic way. Not wrong in a way you could even explain to someone if they asked. Just off. Like you've been moving through your days, but not really moving anywhere. Like time is passing faster than you thought it would, and the version of yourself you imagined you'd be by now still feels like a promise you're waiting on instead of a life you're actually living. And the worst part? You're not even sure you can blame anyone else. Because deep down, you know it's not the economy or the timing or what happened to you 3 years ago. You know the quietest, most uncomfortable truth, that the distance between where you are and where you want to be has something to do with you. Not your intelligence, not your potential, not your worth. Something else. Something that sits in the gap between knowing what you should do and actually doing it. That gap has a name, and by the end of what I'm about to tell you, you will never be able to look at it the same way again. There is someone watching this right now who has a list. Not on paper necessarily, but in their mind. A mental list of everything they are going to do someday. When things settle down, when they feel more ready, when the moment feels right. And that list has been sitting on that mental shelf for so long that they've stopped thinking of it as a list of possibilities. They've started thinking of it as proof that they're not someone who follows through. If that landed somewhere real in you, I want you to drop one word in the comments right now. Just one word. The first word that comes to mind when you think about what you've been putting off the longest. Don't overthink it. Whatever comes first. Because that word matters more than you know, and I want you to see it written somewhere outside of your own head. Here's what nobody tells you about laziness. It is almost never actually laziness. The people who struggle to start, struggle to finish, struggle to show up consistently, they are almost never the people who don't care. They are usually the people who care the most, who want it the most, who have thought about it the most, who have wanted it so badly for so long that the wanting itself has become exhausting. And when wanting something for a long time starts to feel like work, the mind does something very clever. It finds ways to stay busy with things that feel like progress, but cost nothing. Scrolling, planning, researching, talking about what you're going to do, rearranging your approach for the 14th time. These things feel like movement. They have the shape of productivity, but they are, in their quietest truth, the mind's most sophisticated way of protecting you from the only thing that actually frightens it, trying and still not getting there. Overthinking is not a sign of intelligence. I know that's uncomfortable, because a lot of people have used their overthinking as a secret badge, as evidence that they are more careful, more thorough, more aware of complexity than other people. But I want to sit with you in the real truth of this for a moment. Overthinking is fear wearing a very good disguise. It is your nervous system pulling the emergency brake on your dreams and dressing it up as discernment. Every time you have talked yourself out of something by finding one more thing to consider, one more angle to examine, one more possibility to prepare for, that was not wisdom protecting you. That was fear keeping you small. And fear is very good at sounding like the most reasonable voice in the room. Think about the woman who has been working on the same idea for 3 years. She knows the market. She has done the research. She could tell you every reason it might not work, and she could tell you every reason it absolutely could. But she has not started, not because she lacks information, because some part of her has quietly decided that a person like her, with her history, her background, her particular brand of imperfection, does not get to have that kind of life. So she keeps preparing, keeps refining, keeps getting more ready for a moment she will not let herself reach. You know this feeling, maybe not with a business, maybe with a relationship you won't let yourself want openly, maybe with a body you've been trying to change since you can remember, maybe with a creative thing that lives inside you that you have never let anyone see. The form changes, the feeling is the same, and the feeling is this: I want this, and I am terrified of what it will mean if I try my absolute best and it still doesn't happen. So let me ask you something, and I want you to really sit with this before you answer. Where in the world are you watching this from right now? And what is the one thing, just one, that you have been afraid to want out loud? Tell me in the comments. Not what you've been doing, what you actually want. Because saying it out loud, even in a comment on a video, is not small. It is the beginning of something. Now I need to tell you the deepest thing. The thing that is sitting underneath all of the procrastination, all of the overthinking, all of the almost starting and the never quite finishing. It is not laziness. It is not weakness. It is not some character flaw you were born with that other people somehow escaped. It is this: you do not fully believe you deserve what you want, not consciously. You would never say that. If someone asked you, you would say, "Of course you deserve good things. Of course you deserve success. Of course you deserve love and money and freedom and peace." But the subconscious mind does not listen to what you say. It listens to what you feel when no one is watching. It listens to the quiet story running beneath every decision you make. And if that story says, "People like me don't really get there," or "things always fall apart before they get good," or "I always self-sabotage right when it matters most," then no amount of positive thinking, no amount of planning, no amount of motivational content will move you. Because the mind does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you believe you deserve. Imagine a person who wins an opportunity they've been working toward for years. A real one. And instead of feeling pure joy, they feel a strange, creeping panic. They start to wonder if there was a mistake. They start to brace for the moment it gets taken away. They work twice as hard, but with half the presence because part of them is already waiting for the loss. And slowly, almost without realizing it, they begin making small choices that confirm the story they never even knew they were telling, that they were never really meant to have it. This is not a rare psychology. This is one of the most common human experiences there is. And you need to understand it not to feel bad about yourself, but because understanding it is the exact moment the grip begins to loosen. The turning point is never when the circumstances change. The turning point is always when the story changes. And here is where I need to give you something real and practical, because I am not interested in leaving you in a beautiful feeling without a tool in your hand. The first thing you need to understand is that your identity must shift before your behavior can shift in any lasting way. Not the other way around. You have been trying to do the thing first and then feel like the person. But the mind doesn't work that way. The mind acts in ways that are consistent with who it believes you are. So the work, the quiet, daily, unsexy work, is in beginning to practice feeling like a person who does the thing before you have the evidence that you are that person. This is not pretending. This is not fake confidence. This is something much older and much more precise than either of those things. It is understanding that the subconscious speaks through feeling, not language. So when you sit down to write the email, start the project, make the call, and you pause and breathe and ask yourself, how would the version of me who already has this feel right now? And then you let that feeling in your body before you take the action. You are speaking the only language the deeper mind actually hears. There is someone watching this who has tried everything except this, who has read the books, done the courses, made the plans, hired the coaches, set the alarms, built the systems, and none of it stuck, not because those things don't work, but because they were all aimed at changing the behavior without first changing the belief underneath the behavior. You cannot outrun your own story. You can only rewrite it. Now let's talk about letting go. Because there is another piece of this that people almost never address directly. The reason many people stay stuck is not just fear of failure. It is the exhausting, invisible labor of holding on. Holding on to the idea that if they just worry about it enough, they can prevent the bad thing. Holding on to past versions of themselves that no longer serve them. Holding on to timelines they decided years ago that life was supposed to follow. And all of that holding, all of that white-knuckled, anxious gripping, is blocking the very flow they are desperate to feel. Letting go is not giving up. I want to be very clear about this. Letting go is not resignation. It is not defeat. It is removing the resistance that is blocking the thing from reaching you. Think of it like trying to catch water in your hand by squeezing your fist tight. The harder you grip, the less you hold. Letting go is opening the hand, not walking away from the river. Opening the hand. Think about the man who has been grinding toward the same goal with the same desperate, contracted energy for so long that the striving itself has become the thing that keeps the goal away. He is not lazy. He is the opposite of lazy. But his effort is full of fear, full of need, full of the feeling of not having. And that feeling, that vibration of lack, is what the deeper mind is broadcasting. And the deeper mind is always, always more powerful than the action you take from the surface. So here is what you do. You practice the feeling of already, not the fantasy of having it, the feeling, the ease, the settled certainty of someone who knows it is coming. You build that feeling in small moments, in the 10 seconds before you open your laptop, in the breath before you pick up the phone, in the pause at the start of the day before the noise rushes in. Those small moments, practiced consistently, begin to change the signal. And when the signal changes, the circumstances begin to respond. I need you to share this video with one person right now, not later, right now. Think of the person in your life who is brilliant and capable and has everything they need, and they are sitting still, frozen, stuck in the comfortable prison of their own potential. Send this to them, not as a message about what they're doing wrong, as evidence that you see them and that you believe in what they haven't been able to believe in yet. That is one of the most powerful things one person can do for another. Because here is what I want you to understand about 2026. The world is moving faster than it ever has. The gap between the people who have learned to align themselves, their belief, their identity, their inner feeling, with what they want, and the people who are still waiting to feel ready before they begin, is not closing. It is widening. And this is not about punishing the people who are behind. It is about being honest about what is at stake. Because time is the one thing that does not recycle. Every week that passes while you are waiting to feel ready is a week of compounding. And compounding works in both directions. The person who starts today builds something. The person who waits until they're certain builds nothing and loses the time both. You cannot get back the year you spent waiting, but you can decide right now that it was not wasted, that it was the preparation for what comes next. And this is the other thing Florence Scovel Shinn understood that most people in her time refused to say plainly. Every struggle is a preparation, not a punishment. The thing you went through that you are still making sense of, the failure, the loss, the door that closed, the person who left, the version of yourself you had to grieve. It was not evidence that the universe had forgotten you. It was the very specific shaping of a person who needed those exact cracks to let more light in. You were being made ready, not punished, made ready, and the laziness, if we must still call it that, the stalling, the hesitation, the not quite starting, was never about your character. It was about your nervous system trying to protect a self it no longer needs to protect. Because the self you were protecting was the self that hadn't been through what you've been through yet. But you have been through it now, and that changes everything about what you are capable of receiving. Let me ask you one more thing before we close, and I want you to say this out loud before you type it. Actually say the words before you write them. What is the one thing, the one specific thing that you are going to do differently this week? Not this month, not this year, this week. Say it out loud right now, and then put it in the comments. Because the moment you say it out loud in your own voice, something in your nervous system registers it differently than a thought. Your body hears it, and your body is the part of you that actually shows up. You are not the same person who pressed play a few minutes ago. Something has shifted, maybe small, maybe barely visible yet, but real. The understanding that laziness was never the real word, that fear dressed as intelligence was running the show, that your subconscious responds to feeling, not language. That identity must lead behavior. That letting go is not giving up. It is making room. That every struggle you have carried was building something in you that waiting could never have built. These are not motivational ideas. These are the mechanics of how human beings actually change. And you now carry them. If what you experienced here is something you want more of, if you want to keep going deeper into how the mind actually works, how the inner life shapes the outer world, how ordinary people shift into entirely different versions of themselves without forcing or grinding or white-knuckling their way there, then stay close. Subscribe. Because this channel is not about hype. It is not about quick tips. It is about the real invisible architecture of a life that works. And I want to keep building that with you, one video at a time. And the next one, I will only say this much. It is about the thing you keep attracting that you don't want. The pattern that keeps showing up in different people, different jobs, different cities, different versions of the same situation, and why it keeps finding you no matter how much you change on the outside. If you've ever felt like you're cursed, or like something is broken in the way the world responds to you, you will not want to miss what's coming next. And if you have made it here, something in this found you. Not by accident. Never by accident. Maybe it was one word, maybe one sentence, maybe just a feeling you had forgotten, that someone actually understands, that what you have been carrying has a name, that you are not broken, not behind, not too late. That feeling is not an accident either. Hold it. So before you close this and go back to your day, I want to ask you for one small thing. Go to the comments and write one thing. One thing you now see about yourself that you could not see as clearly before you pressed play. One line, one sentence, one word if that is all you have. Because writing it makes it real in a way that thinking never quite does. And what you write might be the exact thing someone else reads tomorrow and thinks, that is me. That is exactly me. Your one word could be someone else's turning point. This channel exists for that reason. Every week something arrives here that you will not find packaged the way it is anywhere else. Not advice, not tips, not a list of things to do before breakfast. Something slower and more honest than that. The kind of conversation that works on you quietly, long after the video ends. If this felt like your kind of place, subscribe. Not because the number matters, because you deserve a space in your week that reminds you who you actually are underneath everything you have been managing. And if someone came to your mind while you were watching this, someone brilliant, someone capable, someone who has been standing at the edge of their own life for too long, send this to them. No explanation needed, no message attached. Just send it. Because sometimes the thing we cannot say to the people we love, a quiet voice in a video says perfectly. That small gesture might do more than you will ever know. Next time, and I will only tell you this much, we are going to talk about the pattern, the one that keeps returning. Different people, different places, different circumstances, and somehow the same feeling at the end of it, the same disappointment wearing a new face. If you have ever wondered why certain things keep finding you no matter how much you change, no matter how far you move, no matter how hard you try to be different, what is coming next will not just explain it. It will shift something in you that has needed shifting for a very long time. Until then, take care of yourself in the way you would take care of someone you truly loved, because that is where everything begins. And here is the last thing I want to leave with you today. Not a tip, not a technique, just a truth that most people spend years arriving at, and I want you to have it now. The life you want is not hiding from you. It is not locked behind some version of yourself you haven't become yet. It is not waiting for the perfect moment, the right circumstances, the day you finally feel ready enough and brave enough and healed enough to begin. That day, if you wait for it, will not come. Not because you are not capable, but because readiness is not something that arrives before the action. It is something that grows inside the action. You become ready by beginning. Every single time. Think about where you were when you pressed play on this video, what you were carrying, what you had been telling yourself quietly for longer than you would like to admit. And now think about where you are sitting in this moment. Something has moved, even slightly. Even just the angle at which you are seeing yourself has shifted by a degree or two. And a degree or two, held over days and weeks and months, becomes an entirely different destination. Do not underestimate what happened here today. The world will not slow down for anyone. 2026 is not waiting. The gap between the people who have learned to align their inner world with what they want and the people still waiting to feel worthy of wanting it, that gap will keep growing. But you are not in that second group anymore. You have seen too much today to go back to not seeing it. So here is my ask, not as a YouTube formality, as someone who genuinely means it. If this channel has given you something real today, subscribe. Come back next week. Let this be a place you return to when the noise gets loud and you need to remember what is actually true about you. Leave a comment. Tell me what shifted. Tell me what you are going to do differently. Tell me the word that kept coming up while you were watching. I read them. They matter. And share this with the one person who needs it most right now. You already know who that person is. You thought of them at least once while you were watching. Send it to them tonight. You are not the same person who pressed play. And that right there is the whole point.